Welcome everyone. We're so happy you can join us today. My name is Ann YK Choi and I'm one of the co-founders of the Authors Book Club. We're thrilled to be hosting our second Plots and Pandemic event. It's our intention to keep this event as interactive as possible and encourage you to engage with the author and with each other. We'll begin with a short reading, followed by a moderated conversation, before opening up the discussion with your questions. Our moderator today is Fiona Ross, a teacher, librarian, and book club consultant with the Authors Book Club. She currently serves on the planning committee at the Festival of Literary Diversity, The Fold. Our guest author, Dorothy Ellen Palmer, is a mom, disabled senior writer, accessibility advocate, adoptee, retired high school drama teacher, improv coach, and union activist. Her recent memoir, Falling for Myself, examines how disability and adoption combined to help her become an activist and find her birth parents. Her fiction and nonfiction have appeared in both literary and disability journals. She serves on the Accessibility Advisory Committee for the Festival of Literary Diversity and the Disability Justice Network of Ontario.
Beautiful male fish with fantails like monarch butterflies. He bagged them up and pimped them out to other guppy enthusiasts who paid a stud fee in hopes of their own handsome offspring. Father found his 12-tank calling thanks to me. He'd originally purchased neon tetras and angelfish, but I'd leaned too close, fallen into the tank, and pulled plants, pink gravel, fish, and the burbling Little Diver Dan filter all onto the floor where none survived. My mother spanked me. The next day, my father bought guppies. We all have one true gift to offer the world, and now you know mine. I fall down. Repeatedly, spectacularly. Like the Pope, I'm forever kissing the ground. I trace my history by the scars on my body, by the times and places I've fallen. At birth, I fell from an unwilling womb into the arms of the Children's Aid. Falling far short of my adoptive mother's expectations, I spent my girlhood on my knees, apologizing for bloody leotards. When corrective surgeries failed to correct much of anything, I fell on crutches, in walking casts, and off my freshly cut feet. I fell at Double Dutch when my orthopedic Oxfords failed to jump, and at university when my unisex work boots stopped working. I married a good man in my 20s. In my 30s, I fell for a boy pretending to be one. In a heart-cracking moment as a new mom, I smacked the sidewalk with my firstborn in his snuggly. To the delight of my grade 10 drama class, I once fell right off the stage. I spent my 40s fighting not to need a crutch and my 50s resisting a walker. A faceplant into a moving streetcar changed my mind. At 63, my walker and I collided with a kilted hammer-throwing Highlander at the Fergus Scottish Festival. When he stepped over my face to help me up, it settled the pressing question of Scottish manhood and gave new meaning to the phrase, getting off scot-free. But if you're expecting an inspiring tale about the importance of getting back up, you'll be disappointed. Here's my truth. I'm a faller and will always be one. Falling makes me bloody furious, and it makes me furiously bloody proud. Now that I understand exactly what makes me fall, I know what I can and can't do about it. I'm learning to retrace my scarred history, to channel shame into solidarity, anger into analysis, denial into delight, and loss into love. After half a century of falling down, I'm falling up. I'm falling for myself. And I think we'll leave it there because we have some extra guests and I want to be able to hear from all of you. So thank you.
Hello, Dorothy. And do we need to wait to admit extra guests into the room here?
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't. So I'm just gonna. You know what? I know I've sent you questions and I gave them numbers, and then I'm really sorry, but I hope you're not. attached to numbers, because I figured you wouldn't be as a fellow drama teacher. We're not generally attached to numbers. So I think I'm going to start with question 5, which is about humor, because your introduction speaks to it so boldly. And I have to admit, even though I've read it, the getting off scot-free just made me chuckle quite a bit. So your wit, your dry wit, and your you have a talent for understatement, and it made me laugh. But it was also a kind of pathos as well, this laughing at ourselves. Especially the Tim Hortons chapter. I don't want to give things away for people who haven't read it, but I know you know what I'm talking about. Is humor part of who you are as a person, or do you think it's a tool that people who are disabled used to demean and neutralize ourselves for others? And as I don't know if you know, but I wear a prosthetic eye, and I have all kinds of one-eyed jokes, and as I often make fun of myself and my losing my eye. I mean, there's all this, there's all these kinds of phrases and words that you made me think about, but it was about humor. Is that you? Was it, I don't know. Can you go with that as a start?
Sure. I think 2 things about that. Yes, it's me. And yes, it's all the wonderful 15-year-olds I worked with for years. When I was an improv teacher, my grade 10 students taught me over and over and over again for almost 3 decades that they can face some of the most difficult things in their lives with a sense of humor. And that is replicated in the disability community when we talk about crip humor. And crip humor is the kind of humor that's invitational. It invites people into our disabilities. It relaxes people. It's, a bit of an icebreaker, an opening moment, but it isn't necessarily, and hopefully isn't, self-deprecatory. It isn't to put ourselves down. It's to point it out, because one of the hardest things for some people to do is to simply start talking about it or to acknowledge that it exists. And so if you do that in a way that's invitational and funny, you're much more likely to have a richer conversation that comes out of that.
And I think you're right when you say it acknowledges it, because so many times people may want to have a conversation about it, or at least know, I know with my eye, because it doesn't move, and kids will often watch it and watch it and watch it. And once I acknowledge it and talk about it, you can move forward, but until it's acknowledged, I don't know. I think that makes a big difference. I like the way you differentiated that from a kind of demeaning humor. No, I think you're right. The invitation is the key. So in chapter 2, you say, I'll admit it, I've inherited 2 things from her. You're talking about your adoptive mother: a profoundly puerile penchant for triple alliteration and a tendency to be a jot judgmental, which is only a 2. I love the alphabetized alliteration in the chapter titles and throughout the book. Is this something that comes to you naturally? I wonder if it's connected to you being a drama teacher and how our ears love alliteration when we say them out loud. Or is it something you build in later? And how did you come up with the titles and of the chapters? Because I love that, the alphabetizing and the alliteration. It's so cute.
Thank you. Before I get to that question, I don't know how people feel about this, but I'd love to be able to see people through this. So is there a way?